What's up guys, I'm Already Diego, and today I'm going to be unboxing To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar. And this one is the 10-year anniversary edition, which as you can see it got an alternative cover. And yeah, to me it just blows my mind that it's been 10 years. I was 16 when this first dropped. But yeah, I remember when it came out, I remember the lead up to this. And you got to keep in mind, I'm a huge Kendrick Lamar fan. He's my favorite rapper of all time. Being around when this first came out was just a huge moment for me and a lot of rap fans. To be honest, when it first came out, like I was a bit, I don't want to say disappointed, that's not the correct word, but you know, Good Kid, Mad City was very nostalgic, it was very West Coast. It brought something back that, you know, was nostalgic to a lot of people, me included, right? I grew up on NWA, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube. So from him going to that, to this, in my opinion, was very bold. It was very bold, it was very different, very unorthodox, because at the time, you know, a lot of people were just making radio-friendly albums, right? Not that there was any conscious rap back then, but you know, you had rappers like Joey Badass, Big Crit, so it wasn't unusual. But for someone like Kendrick with his stardom, for him to pivot to this sort of sound was just very, for me, it was very like, wow, like, you know, it was insane. Let's get it open. I don't want to, you know, take up too much time, but I'll talk about more of the album. But yeah, I remember like the single Alright and I remember listening to I and being like, what the fuck, like, you know, this sounds different. Like it sounds, there's like live instruments. It just sounded so sonically different than Good Kid, Mad City. I was kind of worried because, you know, keep in mind, Kendrick being my favorite rapper and me thinking that Good Kid, Mad City was a masterpiece, as well as, you know, Section 80, Overly Dedicated, all his other work as well. I just thought, like, you know, why wouldn't he do Good Kid, Mad City? Like why wouldn't he keep that West Coast sound, you know? So for him going from like that traditional West Coast sound to something more funk, jazz, and soulful, you know, I was just kind of worried leading up to the album. I was like, damn, I might not like this album. But you know, once it came out, I'm not gonna lie, it took a while for me to truly appreciate it. But once it hit, like, I was like, wow, okay, you know, it grew on me, and it took a while to grow on me. But like I said, once it hit, it was very impactful. It's very heavy in social commentary, in speaking about racial injustices, about his own identity, struggling with fame, survivor's guilt. You know, it's almost like biblical. I would even go as far as to say, like, with some of the stories he has on here, right? Like How Much a Dollar Costs sounds straight out of a tale from the Bible. But yeah, as you can see here in the gatefold, there's some pictures, and then I like how they put the credits and then the song name over it in that font, that cool ass font. I think that's Schoolboy Q's handwriting, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, look at all these cool photos. A butterfly right here. Even though to me that looks like a moth, but I'm pretty sure it's a butterfly. But yeah, look at these cool pictures. And then something interesting here is that there's some braille right here, but I can't read this, so I wouldn't know what it says. So if anyone could help me out, you know, if you guys read braille, let me know what it says here, because I feel like I'm too lazy to search it up. No, but yeah, I mean, this album was super like ambitious because, like I said, where Good Kid, Mad City felt like a movie, a very cinematic story, right, of Kendrick and living in Compton. You know, it's like a John Singleton movie in a way. This felt very different, right? It felt more, I don't want to say like a textbook or anything, but it just felt, had a lot of culture, right? Not just from the sound where, you know, he did a bunch of live instruments with Thundercat, and he made the album sound very soulful, very jazzy, very funky, right? Which is rooted in black music, but you know, the themes he was talking about, what he was talking about here was very, it was heavier. It's heavier than most albums, right? It's not easily digestible. it's very heavy topics, right? Social injustices. You know, his trip to Africa, I feel like really helped him grow as a person, right? Not just as an artist, but as a person as well. I compare this album a lot to Section 80, because it sounds like Section 80, for me at least, was a blueprint in terms of what he was talking about, because a lot of what he talks about on Section 80, you know, re-emerges back on To Pimp a Butterfly, but To Pimp a Butterfly just sounds very fleshed out compared to Section 80. Oh, look at this. This is side A. This is beautiful. This is amazing. I love this. Love this. And to be honest, the reason why I never had this album in my collection, because I knew for a fact that they would eventually release something dope like this, right? And I just kept holding off. I'm telling you, this is one of my favorite albums by Kendrick, and I just kept holding off. And I know it's like, why wouldn't you get this on wax? It's because look, I waited 10 years in the making for this. When I was younger, you know, I thought this was the greatest rap album of all time. But keep in mind, I had a very pretentious mentality back then. I had a very stubborn mentality of like, oh, if you're not talking about real shit in hip hop, it's not real hip hop. Even though real hip hop, if you want to do a discourse on that, it started off from partying, right? So real hip hop, there's no real hip hop. There's a very pretentious mentality that I had. But no, yeah, I still think this is a very important album in modern culture and hip hop. I mean, they study this in colleges, like in universities, they study this album. That's how impactful it's been. But yeah, even though it's very heavy in these topics, it's also very hopeful. You know, with songs like All Right, I think that's a very hopeful outlook on how Kendrick viewed it. It was almost like Kendrick, I don't want to say naive, but he just thought that, you know, with the power of his music, you know, he'd be able to unify everyone and kind of, you know, change those dynamics, those power dynamics. His third album, Damn, was, you know, he kind of reapproaches these topics, but in a more like fuck it attitude. Like he's pissed, you know, he's tired, and he kind of realizes that this is a cycle that's almost like there's higher powers at play, not just, you know, governments or racial, systematic injustices. It's more like it's like a higher power is at play, you know? And it's fate, and Kendrick can't really stop that. It's destiny, right? Yeah, where I feel like this is a more optimistic album, I feel like Damn is a more pessimistic album. I would say this album is pure poetry. Like, this album would belong in a museum, because it has a lot of history, it has a lot of culture, a lot of storytelling. It's very powerful. It's a very powerful album, and that ending with Tupac, you know, to me, when I first heard that, I was like, wow, like that was, you know, I've never heard anything like that. And you know, truth be told, it brought a tear to my eye, because I just thought it was very beautiful, considering that Tupac was and is, you know, Kendrick Lamar's idol. That's who he looked up to. No, but yeah, it's a beautiful record. I'm glad I waited this long for it. Like I said, the quality of this, the colors, the marbling, it's just, there's like hints, it's like gray with hints of gold and white and like a smoky gray. And it's just beautiful. It's beautiful. I can't wait to play this. But yeah, I truly think like this was ahead of its time. If you know, if my memory serves me correctly, this was during the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement. And then, you know, I'm saying it's ahead of its time because, you know, with George Floyd and his passing, it just seems like, you know, this album is relevant at the time, and it's relevant now, and it's relevant to the past. You know, it's very unfortunate, right? But and I think that's what Damn speaks about, that it's like a cyclical thing. Oh yeah, I think Kendrick has had a very successful career. I mean, you know, he headlined the Super Bowl. He's one of the biggest rappers of all time, in my opinion. You know, numbers aside and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I think it's dope seeing his evolution from Good Kid, Mad City to Pimp a Butterfly, Damn. You know, where I see To Pimp a Butterfly as like a poetic, as a poem that should reside in a museum, and I see Good Kid, Mad City as a film, then I see Damn as like a journal, right? Where he was just like, fuck it, he's just journaling like a raw stream of consciousness, like a very angry stream of consciousness. And then I see Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers as a, you know, therapy session, or almost like a stage play where it's divided into acts. And then GNXS is, you know, I spoke about that on that unboxing. But no, yeah, I mean, I think as a Kendrick Lamar fan, I think it's dope to see him, you know, receive his flowers while he's still alive, and people noting his importance in our music culture and our overall culture. Because like I said, you know, for your album to be studied in universities, that's a big thing, no? Like, I don't think they're studying like too many rap albums like that. So no, yeah, I think this album is amazing. I think this record is amazing. If you can get your hands on this, if you don't have this album, and even if you do have this album, you know, you want to celebrate 10 years of an amazing album, I'd say go ahead and get this. It's $40, I believe. No, yeah, like I said, it's just dope to see the success that Kendrick has had over the years. But yeah, but notice I didn't bring up another notable moment, just because I don't want to, you know, dilute this moment. I don't want to dilute the moment with all that happened last year. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys liked the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. I'm trying to be more consistent, but yeah, let me know what you guys think. Would you guys pick this up? Do you guys like Kendrick Lamar? You know, do you think he's overrated? If you do, I understand. You know, it's your opinion. I disagree, but yeah, let's talk about it in the comments. All right, guys, I hope you guys have a dope day. Peace.
I woke up in the morning, washed my body, put some clothes on it. After that, put on my heat like Alonzo Mourning. Cause everybody got a gun, it's like the copycat. So me without one, it's like I'm dated. I be had a style like Adidas and fat laces. Starter jackets and dookie ropes, so whenever the late 80s that favorite. I'm one of the best of my homo sapiens. One of the best of God creations.